You know, I was that person.
Which person?
I was basically the Clet person.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
So this summer when I was in Turkmenistan, we were filming something, like we were filming a guy who was going to be green screened and broadcast over the entire.
So just like you right now.
Right, exactly, like me right now. And during the filming, I was PAing the filming, and so I put the slate, which was a piece of paper that I had printed out. I put the slate in front of the camera so that we could mark which take it was.
That's freaking awesome. Look at you, part of Hollywood, and you're not even in LA. Where's Hollywood? LA.
Yeah, sure. Turkmen Hollywood. That's where I was.
Turkmenistan Hollywood. That the Bollywood of the Middle East. Okay. That's great. I'm glad you did that. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. We're going to keep that story in there. Welcome to a Hungover podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the Oscars and whether or not these movies that have been nominated should really be nominated at all. Are these movies even in the zeitgeist of what people are really going to the movies to see?
Are they?
I'm one of your hosts, Julien. Should they be? Alongside
Ivan, the obnoxious one who was in Turkmen Hollywood.
You are a star to me, all right? You're a beautiful
you
star.
And my mother. The only two people that believe in me.
I believe in you. I think look at you. You're gonna do great, kid. You're gonna do great. Yes, you can get this podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud, and in video form on YouTube, where you can see our beautiful faces, star faces, as Ivan clearly has. He's got the star hair, I'll tell you that much. It's nice hair. But you wouldn't know if you're just listening to the audio, and maybe you should go ahead and write an iTunes review because it really helps with our visibility on the internet. And go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you get the chance, and maybe if you like the videos, that would be a good idea. You know, if you actually like the videos, you should subscribe to us.
There's a button
just
below.
Click it. You all have Google accounts. I know you can subscribe to us. Just do it, please.
Anyway, Julien,
God.
so this podcast doesn't go too far off the rails.
Yes.
We start every podcast usually when you introduce this subject that we're going to talk about. It is what media we've consumed and what did you drink last night.
That is typically what we talk about in the beginning of our podcast. As you know, we are Hungover Media and Gaming. We're a gaming channel on YouTube, so I played a lot of video games this week. I played a lot of pretty much the same games because I'm still grinding it out in Monster Hunter Worlds. It's a great game on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, maybe? And I believe also on PC, although I literally don't know if that's true at all. I think it might just be on PS4, come to think of it. I think it's on Xbox One. It's a Capcom game. It's a great game, super popular in Japan, and now this series is just slightly more streamlined, even though everyone says that this is the one you should get into. If you've been looking to get into Monster Hunter, you should get into this one. This game is still very convoluted and confusing, so if you have someone to help you out, it's really, really useful. But also, I think in terms of the streamlining and why it's a little more accessible, it's because they have a lot better matchmaking, because the last couple of games have been on handhelds and also the Wii U, I think. Mm-hmm. So they were very difficult to get into group and lobbies and things like that to just group up with monster hunters and the like to hunt down these crazy creatures. But it's a fun game. Obviously, the grind loop is you just go out and fight these gigantic monsters. You carve them up, get all their sweet scales and skins and I don't know, tails, and then you come back and you go to the smithy and you make some sweet gear and you go out and do it again. So if that is sort of monotonous, mindless grinding sounds entertaining to you and you're looking for a game like that, I'd go check it out. And I also played a little bit of Dragon Ball Fighters on stream. Had a lot of fun yelling at the screen as I was getting yelled at by Goku and Vegeta and all these characters because they're just always yelling. I don't understand Dragon Ball, and I never will. Or Dragon Ball Z, I never will. But I try to, because I really like the show. So I started watching Dragon Ball Super as well. And despite what I said last time, where there was fewer filler episodes, I've watched 2 or 3 episodes in a row that literally nothing happened. So that show has a lot of filler as well.
Solid.
There was this one
That's
episode.
A solid experience.
The episode. Okay, whatever. We already spoiled it. So Goku fights. We're gonna keep spoiling it. You're gonna continue with my journey along Dragon Ball Fighters. Goku fights Beerus. Goku becomes Super Saiyan God, fights Beerus, convinces Beerus, who is the god of destruction and is a cat, that he shouldn't destroy Earth, even though he lost the fight, technically. And then Beerus goes away. Mm-hmm. And then the next episode, they just have this weird episode that's all about Hercule, or Mr. Satan, in Japanese. Where he is just claiming he's the mayor of the town, whatever city that Goku lives closest to. I don't really know what city that is, or it's not relevant. But basically, Hercule is there, and he is doing a press conference saying that he beat the god of destruction, because to everyone else, they don't want to tell everyone that the Saiyans are living on the planet and they're actually saving the planet. They want Hercule to be there. They've just, I guess, agreed that Hercule gets all the credit for beating Cell and Frieza and Boo and whatever. I guess that's canon or whatever. Fine with me. It's important that a normal person that they like, that's in power, that is very totally a dictator. I don't know. But yeah, so he claims credit for beating Beerus, and then these weird dog aliens just show up in the middle of the town while he's giving this press conference, and they're like, we need to thank you for beating the god of destruction. That was so amazing of you, even though, and we need to know how you saved your planet so he doesn't destroy our planet. And then this one guy tries to fight Hercule. That was literally the whole episode. It's just about Hercule, and I'm describing it almost exactly. That's just there was a large dog enemy or alien that came off their spacecraft and said, I need to test your power because you beat the god of destruction. I guess he's their main guy in the planet. I don't really know. And then basically they get scared off because Goku comes by, and I don't even remember the episode. It's not even that. It was filler. That's all I'm saying. It was a bad episode. It was just a bad episode, and I'm still watching the show because now I'm invested because I already watched 13 episodes, and god damn it, I don't want to waste that time, or have that time go to waste rather. And then I've been drinking a lot of water, Ivan. I'm trying to stay healthy. So yeah, I drink a lot of water. No nice. Seltzer. I drank some coconut water. Coconut water, mind you, is a good way to get rid of a hangover. So if you're hungover watching hungover gaming videos, drink some coconut water. Ivan, what have you been doing?
So I have the story of 3 different movies for you this week.
Nice.
I went to the theater to see Annihilation. Now,
very cool.
Annihilation is a film that just came out, I think it was Friday. Okay. It's by Alex Garland, who is the guy who did Ex Machina.
Nice.
He also wrote the screenplay for 28 Days Later and a few other movies that were really highly cited for their screenplay. So he has a pretty great resume, right?
Okay.
This movie...
Did he do all of the 28? Weren't there more movies?
Yes, there were.
In the 28 Days series?
I think he just
or 28
did the first
Weeks
one.
Later? Wasn't there that one? I don't know.
Yeah, it was going. 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, I think.
Okay.
But he just did 28 Days Later. He also did Sunshine, which is... a sci-fi movie about the sun needing to get restarted, I think.
Whoa, that's
And the remake of Judge Dredd from 2012.
oh cool. I like that movie. I saw that on Netflix. It was really good.
He also
Or maybe
wrote The
you didn't.
Beach, which I
Wow,
didn't know.
check that out.
It's a
Check
book I read
that out.
in ninth grade, I think.
All right.
Who knew?
Who knew?
In any case, Alex Garland, Ex Machina was kind of out of nowhere smash hit, I would say.
Absolutely.
In terms of the sci-fi genre, it definitely was genre defining because of the concepts it was exploring.
Did that come out in 2016?
That was 2015.
2015. Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Saw that
saw
in
that
a
one.
draft house, Alamo Draft House, the best movie
Nice.
theaters you can go to. Sponsors.
Sponsor us, please.
But Ex Machina was a fantastic movie. It was beautifully shot, really well acted by two guys that later ended up in the Star Wars films, and Alicia Vikander played the
Absolutely.
robot in it. So
Yeah.
that was Oscar
I
Isaac.
actually saw that movie. So, yeah.
Did you see it in theaters or did you watch
Yes,
it on a plane?
I snuck into that movie in theaters.
Allegedly.
I was trying to see allegedly. I was trying to see a hero movie that came around out the same time. I was trying to sneak in. It was I saw two movies that day and snuck into Ex Machina.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, I swear. But yeah, that was a good. I really like that movie. Actually, I've seen it twice or three times now.
Yeah, I really want to go back and watch it again because I just remember the shots that he used, the colors, the depth of color in that movie was fantastic.
There were a few scenes outside, but it mostly takes place in that gigantic mansion,
Right,
which was
yeah.
beautiful.
And I really enjoyed the script, the acting. I think the performance he's got out of like Oscar Isaac were fantastic, and Donald Gleason.
Oscar Isaac, man, he looks so different with that beard.
He does. He looks
Yeah.
really different, and he again, Oscar Isaac is in Annihilation.
Yes.
And so it's the second, I guess, work in which they've teamed up together.
Mm-hmm.
And so
That's pretty cool.
After watching Ex Machina, I was really super pumped for Annihilation. After learning that it was the same director, I basically stopped watching the teasers. I didn't know anything about the movie. It's my standard, like, I really like this director, and I like the cast. It has Natalie Portman, Oscar Isaac,
Oh my God, Natalie Portman.
a few other important people that I
Marry
will
me.
say soon.
Did you see Natalie Portman rapping on SNL?
Yeah, that was really funny.
That was hilarious.
What you want, Natalie? Anyway. So it also had Jennifer Jason Leigh, Gina Rodriguez, who I don't really know, but it also had Tessa Thompson, who is one of my favorite modern actresses of the younger generation. So she
Very
was
cool.
also in Dear White People, and she was also in Thor Ragnarok. She's done a few different things.
Was she the main woman in Thor Ragnarok?
She was the Valkyrie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Oh, sorry, not the villain, but the Valkyrie. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So Tessa Thompson is in this movie. The main cast is all female, which I think is pretty excellent.
Whoa, that's crazy.
So Oscar Isaac is in a lot of scenes, but he isn't the focus at all. He's kind of like mostly a flashback character.
Whoa, cool.
So the main focus is on a group of 4 scientists. So they all have doctorates of different things.
Whoa, female scientist?
Yeah,
That's
so
cool. That's also cool.
Natalie
Very
Portman is a biologist. Tessa Thompson is a physicist. Jennifer Jason Leigh, who you know from Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
She is a psychiatrist, and then
She must look very different in that movie than in The Hateful Eight.
she doesn't have as much blood on her.
Yes,
For
she's not
sure.
completely red.
And Gina Rodriguez. I guess Gina Rodriguez doesn't have a PhD because she's a paramedic,
Okay.
but also involved in some sort of sciencey thing because she's a paramedic.
Important
right?
role nonetheless.
Yes. So it's cool that the movie centers on these female characters kicking ass as they go into
In STEM fields. This is great. Oh
yeah.
my god.
And the movie deals, I would say, without giving too much away, because the movie did just come out, and probably most of the people listening, as this podcast is new, won't have seen it, and the old, I don't know, whatever. No spoilers, but there's a kind of phenomena that's happening, which is called they call it the shimmer, and nobody who's gone into the shimmer has come out.
Okay.
So this group of scientists is dispatched
So
to go...
is this like a mental state, or is it a parallel universe?
It's so it's a physical... In the first moments of the movie, you see an asteroid or like a meteorite come to the Earth, and then it's like this glowy shimmery thing. Okay. So the shimmer is basically like a wall. Like you pass, so it's a physical barrier that you pass into.
So it's like Stranger Things almost.
Kind of, yeah.
A little bit.
But it's ever expanding. So it's gone from this small space and it's ever expanding. Okay. So that's why it needs to be studied, because they're afraid that it will get into super populated areas.
That's pretty cool.
So they dispatch this all-female team in to go investigate what's happening in the shimmer, and so.
Oh, okay. I've seen a trailer for this movie then. Yeah.
And yes. It's an interesting investigation. I think it goes hand in hand
reminds me.
with Ex Machina, in that Ex Machina is an investigation of what is humanity through technology, right? So what makes a human a person versus what will make a computer something that's human-like? Or will a computer ever be able to be a human? Right, that's kind of the investigation of Ex Machina. It's talking about the singularity.
The Turing test.
Exactly. But in Annihilation, the questions that we're dealing with in this film are more like, what are the interconnectedness of nature? How do humans and nature interact?
Okay.
What is the goal of creatures within a natural state? So it's an interesting investigation of what makes a human a person versus an animal. How are we interconnected with all of the living things? And it's got a really cool color palette that goes along with it. There's lots of beautiful shots of nature and scenery, and a lot of set design that enhances that. So based on the phenomena that occurs within the shimmer. I highly recommend to check it out for those kinds of shots. I don't necessarily recommend the movie as a whole. I think that it's very slow and plotting, and if you're going into it a little bit sleepy, you're might nod off. I know I had a difficult time. Thank God I had a cup of coffee before I went. It's very, very slow.
So it's a slow movie. That's interesting. You'd think there would be more action in that type of movie after they go into the shimmer.
Yeah, especially with like the cover is Natalie Portman, or like the movie poster is Natalie Portman holding a rifle in a semi-combat ready stance.
Yeah, right. They take defensive measures in there, right? So
because
they don't know what's in there.
It looks like it's going to be more like a Predator type film, right? Mm-hmm. Where there's this ever lurking tension. But it really doesn't get into that too much. There are moments of tension, and it does pick up from the middle on. But especially to start, it's a very slow, deliberate pace. And it can be excruciatingly slow at points.
And is in the shimmer, is it also monotonous in terms of visuals? I feel like...
No, that's the thing. The visuals are excellent in terms of what they're portraying. They might stay in certain places like a long period of time in terms of the whole movie, just based on the plot. You can't like move outside of a scene when it's to show different things. I mean, Alex Garland isn't Terrence Malick. Terrence Malick
Okay.
always likes to intercut like dinosaurs or space travel or anything into his films that for random reasons of showing interconnectedness. Alex Garland doesn't take that measure, so it's basically a straight plot. But they're pretty, and I'll say that the palette that he uses within the shimmer is actually really cool and very scientific. Being the son of a cancer researcher, I've seen a lot of times when you take a cell and you like do phosphorescence into it. So the different kinds of phosphorescence that they implant into those cell structures to see the different striations or like stress fibers that you need to see when you're examining cells.
Yeah.
That's the color palette that they use for a lot of the film.
Okay.
So it's actually
that's
really
pretty
cool because it has some level of scientific phosphorescence in the color palette that they're using. So like La La Land is all about Hollywood and those base tones, right? That red, yellow, and blue. And in the shimmer, it's a lot about those phosphorescent colors. So you see them popping up a lot throughout the different landscapes or things that happen within it, and it gives a lot to the films, as well as some of the interesting things of what happens within it itself. So some
cool.
interesting plot points. Very slow. I don't super recommend it, but if you really want to take a look at something that you trust Alex Garland with, I'd go check it out. It has an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. I really don't disagree with that, or I really disagree with that, rather. I'd give this movie
it's pretty
a
high score.
70 maximum, like a 72,
Okay.
if I had to put a number to it. I would say that this is more of a stream it on a high-quality TV when it comes out later.
4K.
Yeah,
Yeah.
than it is to see in the theaters.
Now, Vaughn, speaking of Hollywood and science mixing together, I actually, well, I'm if you don't know, I'm getting my PhD in chemistry
You are?
in New York. Yes, and they've been filming the CBS show Elementary in my lab, actually, which is kind of crazy. So I saw Lucy Liu. This show stars Lucy Liu, and I assume it's like a modern day version of Watson and
Sherlock Holmes and
Sherlock
Watson, yeah.
Holmes, right? Yeah. So I mean, I haven't seen the show. So again, speaking of things science related, Hollywood, maybe not so Hollywood production related, and things that we don't necessarily recommend. They've been filming. So basically, if you like that show and you're watching and you see any scenes that are in a lab setting, it's been filmed in my lab. It's kind of crazy. And then
That's cool.
So I saw Lucy Liu a couple times, and I got to see behind the scenes how they film things, and they set up all this crazy wiring just to get the lighting and shots correct, and they have the whole, like, the crew behind the camera. We have a setup in our lab where there's a hallway, there's the labs, a door, then the hallway, then another door that leads into the office area where I do a lot of my work. And they had the whole crew in the office area, so they ran wires under two doors and then into the lab, and they remotely controlled the camera from there. So they were super silent and separated from the crew all those shots, which is kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
They only saw the cameras, the actors in the scenes. And so I thought that was really cool. I've never seen a production ongoing live, so that was really cool. And they all have to yell rolling, and then everyone just goes silent for however long they're filming. And then so I just wanted to say that. And then also, I wanted to say that my dad, he's been teaching at this school for actually 40 years now.
Wow,
which is
congratulations.
crazy. Yeah, he didn't even know. It's funny. They sometimes send me emails that are meant for him because they don't have any organization in my school. And they sent me an email inviting him to a ceremony to congratulate him for his 40 years in service, I guess, whatever you call it. But he was telling me that another director paid him to use his lab in a movie that came out in the 70s. It was a very long time ago. So if you've ever seen the movie The Laser Man, it's a really crappy comedy starring this Chinese guy, directed by Peter Wang, which he's not a significant director or anything. But yeah, so that it's funny because my dad does laser stuff. So or he uses lasers to do Raman spectroscopy. And so it was really, they actually used his lasers in the movie, and they had a specialist come in and tune up his lasers. So they left his lasers in better condition than they were before they came. So if you ever see that movie, all the scenes that are in a lab are shot in his lab. And if you ever see Elementary, all the scenes in a lab are shot in my lab. So that's pretty crazy.
That is great.
But yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. That's a cool story.
You were just
I'm going to swing it and swing it maybe towards what we're going to be talking about. Since Annihilation is this supposedly fantastic movie that should have Oscar consideration for this batch
Oscars.
of Oscar films that will be in next year's Oscars.
Yeah.
Some movies that I found on Netflix I thought were more entertaining than Annihilation.
Yes.
This week I saw 2 films on Netflix that I want to bring to your attention. The first one, I was looking through the romantic movie section, and I have to say...
Oh, man. Really? Do you like rom-coms?
No.
Yeah, that's what why were you doing?
As a rule, I don't. But as you might know, I also now have a young lady that I live with.
Yes.
And so we were attempting to find something that we could watch together. Now,
that's cute.
Rom-coms aren't necessarily either of our things, but I was just looking through them. And I saw this Miley Cyrus film, and I was like...
okay, yeah, okay.
Yes, I have to watch this movie. So I threw it on. The movie is from 2012. It's called So Undercover. It stars Miley Cyrus and Jeremy Piven with a minor role with Kelly Osbourne starring in the minor role. God. And it is a loose plot film, so to say. I think this is the combination of about 3 different plots put into one. But it's loosely that the FBI recruits Miley Cyrus to go undercover at a college in Louisiana.
This is like 21 Jump Street.
To protect the daughter of a former mob boss. And Miley Cyrus is chosen because she's a PI from Dallas who's been working as a PI since she was 12 years old because her dad is a crazy cop. Not unlike the story of Psych. So
was it her actual dad? Isn't her actual dad
Billy Ray Cyrus? No, in the movie, her dad is played by Mike O'Malley, that you might recognize from a few different things. My favorite Mike O'Malley thing is Guts.
Okay.
He was I
gotta watch this movie. I'm watching the trailer.
Mike O'Malley was a ref from Guts. He's the one who threw it over to Mo a bunch.
Okay.
But he was also in a sitcom called Yes Dear, which I enjoyed. It was part of the TBS after school programming.
Cool.
Back when I had no friends and just ate myself into fatness when I was in Tennessee.
Nice. Well, I did similar things like that when I was a kid, so I don't blame you.
So Undercover is so good. I recommend watching it with other people. It's good in that it's a bad movie. It's got a 6% tomato meter score, but a 49% audience score, which means it's not a critically good movie, but it is an audience-friendly movie.
Okay.
And you can watch this film and enjoy it for what it is, which is just a fantastic way to spend some time watching Miley Cyrus before she became Wrecking Ball Miley Cyrus.
But on her way, clearly.
On her
to
way.
Wrecking Ball.
Breaking from Hannah Montana. She says the word shit in this movie.
Whoa, that is a big move for her.
Exactly. And Jeremy Piven just enjoying himself. Also, I don't know how many days they had Jeremy Piven, but it was interestingly more than Mike O'Malley. Mike O'Malley, I'm pretty sure they had him for literally 6 hours. We're shooting all of your scenes now. He has scenes in which he's supposed to be talking to Miley Cyrus, who is his daughter. Yeah. But I don't think I think there's one scene in which they're physically in the same room. Everything else is like they're talking over the phone. So,
oh my God.
Like, their shooting schedules are so different. It's like, shit, we don't have Mike O'Malley for more than 6 hours.
But we don't have Miley Cyrus right now during these 6 hours. That's crazy.
So, yeah, it's great. There are lots of moments when you go, huh? What? Be prepared to pause, really contemplate what's going on.
Oh my God.
There's things like Miley Cyrus being a PI and just blackmailing people, or like taking secret photos of a professor and a student together, but she's literally sitting in the quad. So anybody could see this interaction, but she's just taking photos.
Her camera out.
It's great. A movie that I think everyone should watch as a party. So Undercover on Netflix now. From 2012, Miley Cyrus. The other movie that I think you would particularly like, Julian, is The Outcast. Now, this is also a female-heavy script.
I'm into that.
So,
you know me.
All of the main characters in this film are female. And it is called The Outcasts.
Okay.
This is a 2017 movie about two nerd girls who want to change...
Geek versus chic. Let the revolution begin?
Exactly. They want to change the social structure of their school after they couldn't negotiate a peace with with the popular girl.
I see.
So this is another...
So it's like Mean Girls.
It kind of is,
Or same setting.
Yes, exactly, but it's a teen comedy based in a high school. This is Julian's wheelhouse of film.
This is my jam. I love that shit.
It stars Eden Shah, who looks exactly like the girl from Blossom and the woman from The Big Bang Theory, the same actress. Yeah. And they, in fact, so much so they point out and make that joke in the movie.
Oh, it has Victoria Justice. She's from... Disney Channel.
I didn't know that at all.
I watched some Disney Channel in my later years. Shouldn't have, but that is what I did. It was like when I was in college, I would have a lot of free time, so I would turn on the TV. Who calls it the tube anymore? Fucking old. But yeah, I used to watch some... I don't know, when you're home in the middle of the day with nothing to do, you watch TV, so that's what I did.
It's I highly recommend The Outcasts.
Okay.
Again, as a party movie. It's not going to be a movie that really makes you ask further questions. So if you're tired of all these Oscar movies like Three Billboards or The Shape of Water making you ask, what is a proper grieving structure? How do we go through the interpretation of the death and rape of a daughter? Or how do we really treat each other and humanity, and what really shapes love and relationships in this world? If you're tired of those conversations, check out The Outcast and So Undercover. Now, The Outcast also ends with your favorite thing. What did these characters do after this film concluded?
Oh, I love that. Those are great. Do they have... Is it just a black screen when they do that, or
no? They have photos, I think, or like small GIF-like videos.
Classic shots. I love that. That is like a classic '90s high school movie thing, or '80s high school movie thing, particularly '80s, I would say. But that is amazing. I love movies like that, man.
Both are really. They're really well written for what they are. There's some really good jokes in both of them that are like...
That are delivered
well? That's in this movie? Yes. Also, a
Unlike,
lot of the characters in
Star Wars.
specifically the Outcasts have really good chemistry and are actually really, really good.
Nice.
So
That is pretty impressive.
I highly recommend the Outcasts.
All right, man. Cool.
Yeah.
Just fun movies to watch. That's, sometimes you don't have to be serious to watch a movie, all right? Jeez. Speaking of serious movies, Ivan,
Yes.
we have quite a list to, I guess, that you can talk about mostly. I saw three movies last year. I saw Get Out. I saw The Hateful Eight. I saw
Finally
Star
caught up.
Wars. I saw what was the other one?
You
that
saw
I also
Logan?
saw? I saw Logan. Yes, that's the one that I saw last year. I like those movies.
So which ones
To
were
be
there?
fair,
Was
I
Get
liked
Out,
all the movies I
Logan,
saw.
and which other one? Star Wars.
And Star Wars, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those. What is the Big Sick?
Oh, The Big Sick is an Amazon movie that is Kumail Nanjiani
Yeah.
and his wife
Emily Gordon.
Yeah, it's co-written by both of them. It's an adaptation of the story of how their relationship started.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
And you can check that out on Amazon. It's streaming now because it's an Amazon-funded movie. So
So, but did it come out in theaters?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. Does a movie have to come out in theaters in order to be nominated for an Oscar?
Yes, it does.
It does.
And there
Okay.
are certain restrictions of how many theaters it needs to come out in for X amount of time, but yeah. That's why you'll see films that are released for the Oscars that show in like 8 different theaters in the major cities for like 3 days in like 28th, 29th, and 30th of December, and then
Phantom
they're
Thread.
not released again until January, late to mid January or whatever.
I see. So do you think that's going to change anytime soon, given the high volume of Netflix movies coming out and Netflix exclusive movies coming out, and things like, I guess, Amazon-funded movies that come out as Amazon Prime is trying to get in on everyone's market, literally, even the grocery market. So not kidding. They have a grocery store that you don't have to worry about employees in, which is kind of weird. I guess we can talk about that instead. No, that's the weird one. No, but if you want us to talk about Amazon and how they're trying to take over the world, you tell us in the comment section below. But yeah, so as Amazon is slowly creeping into Netflix's territory, do you think we're going to start seeing movies that aren't in theaters, that are only streaming through streaming services, through getting nominated for the Oscars?
I think that it might be looked at as a thing. I think that they started this conversation, I think, last year.
Yes,
because of the different like streaming formats being so important. I think we, in fact, had this same topic of conversation last year.
That's funny. Yeah, we did talk about the Oscars last year, so if you like to go delve into our podcast repertoire, go ahead and listen to that episode. I thought it was one of our first episodes, actually, but I think we still had the banter going back and forth between you and I.
We had the mojo for sure. Some might say it was even stronger because we didn't exhaust all of our topics of conversation.
It's true. It's so true.
Anyway, no, I think that part of what is a big draw for the Oscars is that the Oscars are talking about movies. I think as much as streaming services are important for funding different kinds of projects and expanding the ability of directors, writers, actors to get projects made that might not fit into the budgets of the traditional film companies, which are now only producing the biggest, most spectacular $200 billion budget movies, or like a $1 million budget movie.
Wasn't Avatar $500 million The first one. It was the most expensive movie ever to be made.
It was something like that, yeah. But that
When
also encompassed the development of all of the technology that went into
I
the
know.
real 3D stuff.
I'm just saying, when is someone gonna spend $1 billion on a movie?
Uh,
Soon.
Avatar 2?
Sooner than yep. Yeah, so I feel like I think it's coming up. I think in the near future, because we're already seeing people cutting the cord and not even paying cable companies. So I think as movies get more and more expensive, we're gonna have trouble. I mean, we talked about this, I assume, a year ago, but I think I don't want movie theaters to die. I think they're a great service, especially the Alamo Drafthouse. But they're going to be more and more niche experiences as we go on. Even though I think it's way more evident now.
But
And
it's also
yeah,
difficult because, like, for instance, in where I live, the Phantom Thread was in theaters for, I feel like, a month and a half.
right.
I really tried to see the Phantom Thread, but I didn't get to it immediately. And since I didn't get to it immediately, it was out of theaters before I could go see it. Now they might be having one or two showings just as like Oscar preparatory showings, but a lot of the things that are being shown in like Regals or other very mainstream theaters are these super huge budget films, like any kind of
Star Wars,
superhero, Star
superhero
Wars,
movies. Yeah.
these franchises that are just built to pump out these huge spectacle movies that are popcorn movies with no real depth or understanding to the majority of them. Now, we'll check out Black Panther and we'll do a review, one of our in-depth month and a half after the movie comes out.
Well, hey, it's better that way because then everyone has a chance to go see it, and then we can feel free to spoil the hell out of it. So
I also feel like it gives enough time that people don't have to
rush to go see it.
rush to go see it or feel that they have to be obligated to say only positive things about a movie that has such social buzz to it. Like,
Right,
if we
right,
went to see
of
Black
course.
Panther now and we're like, oh my god, this movie is amazing, only based on the fact that so many people are praising Black Panther now, that I don't feel that that's giving that movie justice. It's not giving Ryan Coogler, the director, the correct amount of criticism or praise that is necessary just based on the fact that you're trying to match a social narrative. Now, I'm not saying that this is Black Panther specifically. It's just the movie that's crazed right now. So
Yeah, of course.
I have high hopes, and I think that Black Panther will be really good. I trust
I'm
Ryan
sure.
Coogler, Michael B. Jordan. So
I trust the cast too. I feel they cast it pretty well in terms of the movie and the script. I think it's going to be a great movie. And also, I think it allows you, the viewer, I guess the format that we do it, like a week and a half or a month after, a month and a half after, it allows you to sort of sit and settle your thoughts about the movie. You're not so excited anymore about the movie, so you can finally formulate a solid opinion on the movie. So I think that's a good idea. I think movies are a medium that allows for that. That, you know, it'll age over time, but for instance, right? I think there's a documentary where they interviewed people who watched Star Wars Episode 1 for the first time. You know, adults who had seen Star Wars or maybe grew up with Star Wars, the original trilogy, waited 17 years to see Star Wars Episode 1, and then saw Star Wars Episode 1, and then they interviewed them right after the movie. And they were like, what did we just see? What is going on? And so, so I actually wanted to see that. Or maybe it's not a documentary, maybe it's just a video, just a clip from the news. But things like that, right? You don't necessarily, should we go see that movie again? I don't know. It's Star Wars, right? We're supposed to like this, but obviously that movie sucked, except for the fight between Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon Jinn.
exactly.
That was a great fight. Fucking love that. I love that scene so much.
I think the other thing that, like, being too into the moment about film in particular, allows people to, like, around the Oscars, it's a lot of narrative. Like, what is the hot ticket item at that moment? So if we were
Yes.
to go back and legislate, so in 2012, the Best Picture went to The Artist, which is a movie I doubt
In 2016?
in 2012.
So, oh,
The same, because I was looking at
Oh,
movies that came
yeah.
out during So Undercover.
that was the silent movie, right?
Yeah, it was the silent movie.
And black and white.
It was a silent black and white film about how the transition from silent film to talkies happened.
Okay, cool.
So that was the 2012 Oscars.
Okay.
So if we were to go back and legislate that, the other nominees, hold on, let me get to there, for Best Picture were like The Descendants, Hugo, Midnight in Paris,
Mm-hmm.
Moneyball, The Tree of Life. It's just like there are some movies, like I think Midnight in Paris or Moneyball might be better movies than The Artist.
Right.
But the Artist won. So it's hard to legislate movies in particular at the time that they're coming out because you don't have the long narrative of things, right? You don't have how these movies are going to be interpreted down the line. I have
Right.
never rewatched The Artist.
Social
I
impact.
have rewatched Midnight in Paris like 6 times.
Right.
Um, it's
And then
just,
that also brings up the idea of who's deciding that this is the best picture. It's the committee and the Oscars, right? There's
the Academy, yeah.
the Academy, sorry, that's
And-
the word.
Yeah, and the Academy is still overwhelmingly like older white dudes.
Old white men that work in the industry, that work in Hollywood.
Exactly.
They're producers, right? I'm assuming they must produce
I
some
think that
movies.
it's a wider scope than just producers, but yeah.
There has to be a well, wouldn't that must be some, but then again, how do we know they're unbiased at all? Right? So
It's impossible for them to be unbiased.
yeah, exactly, I guess. So that's the thing, right? Who's to say that Phantom Thread, for instance, we don't know. Obviously, maybe you'll listen to this after the Oscars and you'll know, but we don't know if The Darkest Hour or Dunkirk is going to be the best picture. But who's to say that those movies should even be in the running for best picture? I saw Get Out of that list, and I really like that movie, of course. I think a lot of people love that movie, and
Exactly, but a lot of these films, like Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, Shape of Water, Three Billboards, they're movies that have come out in like the past 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, except for
Dunkirk
Get
came
Out
out over the summer. Get Out came out
in spring, I think.
I think it was in last spring.
Yeah.
So
was it March, I think?
yeah, the vast majority of films that get nominated for Best Picture
Are just
come
in
out.
the zeitgeist. They were just being
Exactly.
talked about, yeah.
So there's got to be some level of, bias in terms of, oh, it's the last film I watched. Or there are some people in the Academy that haven't seen all the movies.
Is that true?
And yeah, I mean,
Holy
if you have to
shit.
go through all of these movies, you don't necessarily have the time. These are busy people for the most part.
But
So they don't
live
always
and
have the
breathe
time to see them all.
movies.
Exactly.
That's horrible.
So
That's crazy.
That's
That is
sometimes when
crazy.
you get the narrative of things have a more significant influence. A lot of the times that Harvey Weinstein, when he was the big guy that he was in terms of cinema,
Yeah.
a lot of the times he would shape the media narrative in order to enhance his projects or the movies created that he wanted to, for them to be chosen as the Oscar nomination, because he would bend that narrative in X or Y ways, manipulate how it was being discussed in the media, and that was important to getting certain films Oscar nominations
more
or
money.
Oscar winnings. So yeah, it's all about prestige, making money, things like that. So it's just interesting to me that, like, as much as any of these movies are important, I think a film like Thor Ragnarok actually has a place in the Best Picture nomination. I thought it was exceedingly funny.
A pretty good movie.
It was great. It looked good. I think it has enough gravitas to be in the Best Picture nomination.
Right.
And the fact that there's almost no comedies that have ever won Best Picture, like it tells you that there's a certain way that
there has to be a bias.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a thing. Again, we've talked about, are they even necessary? But are these the films that need to be nominated? For instance, what do you think is why do you only go see like X, Y, or Z movies?
For me?
The 3 movies that you see a year, yeah.
Right. Well, okay, yeah. So I live
As a
in
guy
New York City.
who I think loves film.
Yes, film is second only to video games for me, in terms of media that I consume. I love movies, and there's just something about movies that is just, and then is just amazing to me. They tell, or at least the movies that I like, right? So obviously there are bad movies. I don't want to see bad movies, but good and movies that are like they instill a sense of just comfort, mostly for me. Really good the movies that I like. Again, of course there are bad movies, but the types of movies that I like just sort of give me nostalgia, and they sort of make me feel happy. But I think a good movie in general will make you think a lot, and sort of just can change your life and make you think in different ways than you would normally think. So I think that's the mark of a good movie. If it can change your mind about something, I think film is one of the few mediums. Well, not the few. I think there are many more, but that can do that for you. So I think the movies are really powerful in that way. So I do love movies, and I also like the idea that this is a story that was written with a clear beginning and a clear end, or in the case of movies with many sequels, sure, there's going to be a sequel or whatever. Star Wars has that. But I like the idea that this is the story that the director or the screenwriter and the production crew, of course, wants to tell. And how you interpret it is up to you, obviously, but there's just a finite value to it, and I really like that about it. And all these shots have purpose in a good movie, of course. So that's what I like about movies. So sorry, you have to remind me of the question. I got.
So no, the question was, why haven't you gone to see more movies?
Oh yes,
this year.
This year. So, I mean, I think it has to do with growing up. You end up getting a lot. You end up having, you have a job, you have the wife and kids, whatever, and then you not that I have a wife and kids, but you end up having a lot less free time. I think it's partially free time. I live in New York City, so movies are $15 to go see, so it's expensive. If I can't see a movie every weekend, unless I go to the matinee viewing, which, when I wake up at 10, it's going to be difficult to get to the movie theater before then.
Might I recommend a solution for that?
What is that?
There's a thing called Movie Pass.
Movie Pass?
Yeah, it's $10 a month, unlimited movies at a select number of theaters, but it's pretty wide ranging. Mm-hmm. And I also think there might be like a $20 startup fee. Okay. But in any case, you pay $30 in the first month and $10 after that.
And you can see unlimited movies.
And you can see unlimited amounts of movies.
At a specific theater, right?
At specific theaters. So it's a bunch. They argued with AMC recently, but I think a lot of other theaters were open.
Well, right. So that's it comes down to convenience. It's very for me, anyways, I'm mostly lazy, so I'm not going to go outside some days. I just want to play video games. And video games are more of a passive, don't have that finite beginning and end sometimes. Like in Monster Hunter, there's no real beginning. There's no real end in that game. You just continuously grind. But I've found that that's a little more comforting for me. And it's just fun for me to do. So, but I think that it has to do with free time and my perception of how much time it's going to take to get to it's sort of like a 5-hour event if I want to go to a movie, because I got to travel an hour to the city, to Manhattan. I live in Brooklyn. Or I got to travel like 30 minutes in all reality to get to the movie theater and back. So then the movie's 2.5 hours max, I guess, unless you're watching The Lord of the Rings, then it could be 9 hours. Who knows? But yeah, so it's travel time, and then it seems like an event now, where you gotta get dressed, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. So it ends up being sort of an inconvenience, even though I know for a fact that I love going to the theater and I love watching movies on the big screen. It's just that mental hurdle, which I know a lot of people probably have, and that's why theaters are dying, probably. The mental hurdle, the financial hurdle, those are the two problems. It's not actually difficult to go to the theater and watch a movie, and I assure you, if you go, you'll actually like the movie and end up, or maybe you won't like it, but you'll leave the theater and you'll have a good time.
It gives you something to talk about a lot of the times. So.
Yes, even on a podcast. I wish maybe I should see more movies. But yeah, so that's
But as an
that's
alternative,
it for me.
you do see a lot of movies on Netflix or something, right, or having physical media. Like I just rewatched Reservoir Dogs.
Right.
Because Laura had never seen it.
Effing really?
Yeah.
Well, now she has.
Yes. Right. So next is The Hateful Eight, hopefully.
Oh God, that you're gonna make that jump?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. To be honest with you, that's not that big of a jump, because it's Tarantino.
Yeah, they're both pretty bloody.
Yeah, yes, very bloody.
Tim Roth is covered in blood for the majority of that movie.
God, it's disgusting. God damn. But yeah, I love movies. I think I should go see more, but as I described, it's a mental hurdle for me.
Are there any movies that were nominated this year that you either saw or didn't get to see but wanted to see? Or recommend that you saw? Like, you enjoyed Get Out. I assume that you would recommend
love that movie. Yeah, absolutely. But I can't imagine someone not seeing that movie by now. But because it was such a cultural phenomenon and all that shit, whatever. I mean, he deserves. What's his Keegan Peele?
Jordan Peele.
Jordan. Sorry. Jordan Peele deserves all the praise for writing that movie. I think it was a great movie.
And I think it dealt with a lot of very interesting and necessary topics that we have.
Yeah.
In terms of social constructs of relations and race and things like that. So I really recommend it to anybody who hasn't checked it out. It's available on HBO. I like here in Syracuse, they were showing it as as a preparation for the Oscars.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
There are entire college courses in your undergrad that are given about this movie. So I've heard, anyways. I'm not in college anymore, but or undergrad anymore. But I wanted to see Dunkirk and
I can recommend that movie
and Blade Runner 2048. I mean, obviously, we all have our tastes in movies, and I would not. And I also wanted to see I, Tonya. But
I, Tonya is funny. It takes a lot of liberties with what actually happened. Okay. But it's a pretty good movie to go see. Just know that what you're watching isn't the whole truth.
Of course, yeah. Yes, yeah. It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's Hollywood.
And Blade Runner 2049 was a movie that needed to be seen in theaters. It was spectacular and amazing, and
visually spectacular and amazing as well.
Visually and audio, like
the audio. That's why
was really well
got nominated for sound mixing.
Yeah, it should have. It's an
It did.
incredible.
It's nominated for sound mixing.
Good. It's an incredible combination of like these auditory and visual experiences that really are the Blade Runner universe. It got
Yeah.
kind of panned. It wasn't people weren't as excited for it after they saw it as they were. I don't know why. Denis Villeneuve is a master of his craft of directing. It was an incredible film. I highly recommend it if you want to go see it. Try and get it the highest quality that you can, like a Blu-ray or Ultra HD.
Yeah, we get a Blu-ray.
It's fantastic.
I don't have a 4K TV yet, but
as I've said on this
pretty
podcast and on the Rocky Mountain Slacker cast,
yeah,
Blade Runner 2049 is
Shoutouts.
what you thought Blade Runner was.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That it's funny that what's new or what's old is new again, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, but so yeah, I kind of like the idea that maybe not all these movies are necessarily good in everyone's eye. Are these the types of movies that should be nominated? I like the idea of bringing up that question. I'm not entirely sure because I don't know the vetting process for all these movies. I've heard that all these movies were fantastic, but that's just what I've heard from people who, not necessarily my friends, who I trust the opinion of more than the media, because I know who they are and I know the types of movies that they would like to see. So, but then again, I haven't talked to them about movies lately. But yeah, so that's generally what I don't know what you think about this list of movies. You have actually seen a lot of them.
So, we'll take the Best Picture nominee. I haven't yet seen Call Me By Your Name, but I want to see it. It's an intriguing movie to watch, especially now in the post-Me Too movement era, because it's a much older man with a 17-year-old boy in Italy starting a gay relationship.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's an interesting film in terms of what it's talking about. It has also been described to me as just taking bike rides in Italy.
Oh, cool.
So I just think that it's a movie that seems better because it's set in Italy. It has
they
actually
love bikes there.
not a lot of great things in it, but everything is better in Italy.
A lot of things are better there, but a lot of things are worse, I would assume.
In terms of movies, if you shoot a movie in Italy, I think it bumps up the appreciation of that movie. Like Godfather versus Godfather 2. Godfather 2 had Italian scenes.
Clearly.
It was Godfather has scenes in Italy, which people really enjoy. But nothing really happened in Italy. It's just people were enjoying
they're just enjoying their time in Italy. It's Italy. Come on.
I haven't seen Darkest Hour. I don't really have a lot of wish to see that movie.
Do you think Hungover podcast would get more viewers and listeners
Absolutely.
if it took place in Italy? If we were in Italy? Yeah, okay.
So
Buongiorno. We're in Italy.
Throw Italy up behind us.
Okay.
Dunkirk. Dunkirk, I do highly recommend going to go see. It's a movie that I saw in theaters in Turkmenistan. The quality of projection was pretty low. It was basically like you could buy the projector for home movies.
That's awesome.
And it was in Russian, so it wasn't the original voices.
So that's bad, actually.
But the movie had such tension that it didn't matter that the projection was poor, that it wasn't the original voices. The movie was spectacular. I highly recommend that.
That is one that I did want to see, because I do like Christopher Nolan, as most people do.
Get Out, I would highly recommend. Lady Bird is excellent. It is a film that is necessary to go see, and it should get a lot of praise and a lot of wins. I have no idea.
As a modern person, you mean? Someone trying it's necessary to go see as a person that is alive now?
Yes.
You mean? Okay. Yeah. So all people should see that movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a fantastic telling. I guess everybody should know by now, but it is a fantastic telling of a mother-daughter relationship and daughter's coming of age relationship. You would enjoy it for that coming of age.
Okay. I love
But the
coming
thing
of
is
age
that
stories.
it tells a story about a woman coming of age, but it is so, I would say it is so universally relatable, that it actually says that you can have women as your main characters, and
God
it
forbid.
doesn't matter, because as long as what you're talking about is universal, it doesn't matter who is the person talking about it. So even though I'm a dude watching this movie that is really a lot is based on the female perspective, or women and daughters and mother relationships, I understood a lot of it, all the complexities of it, the how you feel from it. So I highly recommend that.
I hear speaking of prominent women in movies, I hear the women in Black Panther have a huge role, and they're not just like damsels in distress. Not that
I'm
they
excited
would be.
for that movie a lot.
I'm very excited. Yeah, so I hear they have a great role in the movie. They're
And
not
then the
just
last
supporting
last
actors.
movie I would recommend is Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
It's Guillermo del Toro, so everything aesthetically is fantastic, and the story is pretty interesting. And they have pretty decent Russian speakers.
Wow. That in an American movie, that's impressive.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Are there any movies that you might consider going out to watch?
In theaters?
Yes.
Right now? I don't even know what's in theaters right now. Star
So,
Wars?
besides Black Panther, are you
Just
going to go
kidding.
see Black Panther?
Yes. You're going to make me see that. So
I
yes.
am. There's the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider movie. You're a big video game guy, a big
Not interested.
film guy?
I'm not interested in any video game movies ever. I don't think they lend well to screen. That's another topic, but I don't think the transition from video game to movie or movie to video game works at all.
So you're
or
out
so
on
far
Rampage
anyways.
as well, despite The Rock Johnson being the starring role.
Look, I love The Rock for who he is. I don't necessarily like any of the movies that he's in. I'm gonna throw that out there. I love the man because he's a good guy, and he wakes up at like 2 a.m. to go work out, and then he's a really, really just all around good guy, and he's really important in the Fast and Furious movies. That's all I know about him. But and he was a good wrestler professionally.
I have 3 movies that I'm really looking forward to for 3 different reasons.
Yeah.
I have Gringo, which is Joel Edgerton's brother's movie.
Okay.
Joel Edgerton was he was in Zero Dark 30. He was in that movie about the MMA fighters, I think.
Okay.
I forget what it's called, but he's a pretty decent actor, and it stars Danielle Oyelowo, I think.
Okay.
Or David Oyelowo, and it's just a kind of weird comedy, which I have no idea how it came together. It's got a lot of actors doing weird things in it, and it looks like it could be a disaster, or it could be funny, or it could be funny because it's a disaster. So, if any of those 3 things is the case, then I'll be satisfied with watching that movie.
That's okay. It might happen. I'm interested in seeing, obviously, Black Panther. Looks like The Incredibles 2 is going to come out. I like the first Incredibles. I'll go see that, maybe. I like a good Pixar movie. I think they always get the best of me. I love Pixar. They have a great animation studio that convinces you that you're not just watching a child's movie, despite the visuals that you're seeing. They convince you through visuals that you're not just watching. Like, it's kind of crazy. They're really fantastic over there. I'm interested in Solo, obviously.
Right.
We talked about that in a past podcast. I'm interested to see if it's any good. And what was the other one? Aquaman. Are they making a prequel to the Ocean's 11 series of movies?
They're making
Ocean's
an
8?
Ocean's It's not a prequel. It is a film where the Ocean's movie is all women.
Oh, that's
And
cool. So like Ghostbusters
it's got
that got shat on.
Mindy Kaling. I think it's Sandra Bullock, Kate Blanchett. I think it's also Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it
So
looks pretty interesting from the trailers. I'll probably go see it.
is that gonna end up being like the Ghostbuster remake that they made with all women? Do you think?
I hope it's better than that.
Because I hear that movie was not very good,
Yeah,
despite having excellent actors in it.
it also has Rihanna in it.
Ooh, I'm interested now. I like Rihanna. Got to do that work, you know.
No Kristen Wiig, I don't think.
Ah, dang. Yeah. Well, that's pretty interesting that they would. I'm glad that that can happen now and be in a Hollywood movie. So that's great. And
Soderbergh does a lot
me.
of strange things, and I like that.
I gotta see 50 Shades Freed before
of course.
it goes out of theaters. Is it in theaters now? Because it came out on Valentine's
yes.
Day, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
I gotta see that. You know me. But yeah, so that's about me in terms of movies this year so far. There's a lot of superhero movies coming out. They're not gonna stop. Avengers Infinity War, maybe I'll see that.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that,
should.
just to see how it ends and to hopefully see, some people die or whatever.
Is this the end? No.
It's the end of the original Avengers cycle.
Okay, so then... Oh, so they only planned out... I thought they planned out until 2019.
Yeah, they have more films in the can, but it's just like you don't have contract armor after X films.
Okay, well, fine. Whatever, man. And Robert Downey Jr. is getting kind of old, so can't do these movies anymore. Yeah, so look, guys, tell us in the comment section below if you are interested in any of the movies we mentioned. Tell us your opinions on the Oscars. That would be really great. Keep the conversation going in the comment section below or on Twitter, and that would be really great. Do you have any last comments, Ivan? Do we need the Oscars?
I think that the Oscars are mostly outdated from how the Academy is put together and from the form in which it takes. But I still think that it's important to recognize that movies are a specific kind of medium that even though they're so easily accessible through streaming and different things, there is a magic to going to a theater and seeing something that's so huge and being bombarded by sound, and there's a huge difference between that kind of experience and sitting on your couch or watching it on your phone on the bus.
Yeah, and of course, many people go into making these movies. I, of course, just saw a relatively small-scale production in CBS's Elementary, but there were at least 20 people crowding our office behind the camera. And they were working all day, so a lot of people go into these productions, and it's really skilled work. So I think that's probably the coolest part about it. Honestly, I would like to get into that. We do a very small scale production for you guys, so I hope you guys like what we put on in this podcast and our YouTube videos. Go check them out. But yeah, I'll try to make it out to some more movies this year. How about that?
That's a great promise.
A good deal. Now that you've shown, yes.
What would be a great movie to go see later is the Black Panther.
Of course.
And I might force you to go see Tomb Raider.
Oh my god.
In order for us to have that chicken dinner
Alicia
together.
Vikander.
Yes. So Julien, how do we close out this podcast?
We end this podcast every single week in a song in a segment called Hungover Radio. This is where you, the listener or viewer, can send in your music that you wrote, produced, sang a song, maybe you played an instrument on, or maybe even, well, not even better, but slightly less good, your friend wrote a song that you want to promote. So send it in to gaminghungover hungover@gmail.com. We will share it and play it at the end of the podcast and send out the link to everyone who listens so they can find your music. It's free advertisement for you, and we get to increase our community morale, I would say. Maybe that. Who knows? We'll go with that. So, yeah, if no one sends in a song, I get to pick one. And because we're talking about critically acclaimed movies, I'm going to play a song from a critically acclaimed video game, because if we play a critically acclaimed movie music, we'll get a copyright strike. So I got to choose a song from Shadow of the Colossus because that game just came out. I'm going to be playing for you Revived Power today because, I feel like that game's very popular right now. So I hope you guys pick it up on PS4 or PS4 Pro, whichever one you got, and show support for Team Ico. They did a good job on this game, I think.
Cool, man.
Yeah, man. Hope you guys enjoy the song. I'm Julien.
I'm Ivan. Thank you so much. Bye.
Peace out.